So before we get into today's video, I want to mention that these stories are not being told for people to give me praise or to say thank you for the stuff I did. This is basically me talking to you guys, telling you some stories from experiences that I had in the past before YouTube, and to also let other veterans know, maybe I'll be able to reach one person that's struggling and then that thinks it'll never get better or wants to commit suicide or something like that. These stories are basically to let them know that it will get better. I promise you. I say this at the beginning of all of them, or I try to now, try to relay that message, because a lot of people do struggle. I mean, last video I said it was 1 a day, but then I was corrected and now it's 22 a day. 22 a day is it's so absurd for how small the military force is. 1% of Americans, 1%, has ever done anything in the military. Now if you think about that, 1% and 22 of that, that is absurd. That's insane numbers if you really think about it like that. So that's basically what these videos are, to let anybody that's struggling know it'll be okay, and you should be good. I mean, I'm okay. I'm pretty normal. So with that being said, let's get into today's Military Monday. So it's going to start off with us being 4 months deep. We're going to be leaving the SEAL team that we've been working with. We're going to be going back up to a big fob, and we're going to kind of refit for a couple weeks. I did put notes on my phone this time so I don't jump all over the place. Sorry, last video I kind of was all over the place, scatterbrained. Got it in front of me. We're going to keep on track this time. Now, we go back to this base and we refit for a couple weeks. Now while we're up there, the brass is trying to figure out what we're going to do, where we're going to go. They have us going one place 1 week, and then 2 days later we're going somewhere else. They're all over the place, so we don't know where we're going. We had got so far with another team to go and meet the team and to go work somewhere else. And then 2 days when we're supposed to kick off to go do this entire thing with this SF team, we got moved and shifted out east to go work with another one, which I was completely content with, because I would rather go sit on the Pakistan border and fight these turds than sit on a fob and do nothing. Now while I'm back there for those 2 weeks, one of my buddies, a couple of my buddies, are actually on another team. They were working with some MARSOC guys down south in Helmand, and they were in transitional as well, which the timing was kind of weird. But I remember talking to them on Facebook back then when I had Facebook on Messenger, telling them, because all these big camps, big fobs, these people do have internet connection and stuff like that. I remember telling him that that just messing with him, just because, just dry humor, just whatever, just don't die, you'll be okay, it's not that big of a deal, dude, whatever, who cares, kind of deal. And a month later, if you're watching this, Kush, you probably should have watched where you stepped. If you would have not stepped on IED, dude, you would have had your leg right now. Yeah, my buddy, he stepped on an IED and lost his leg, and yep, that's what happens. I'm walking in the wrong spots, I guess. Look at that. I have notes, and I still went off track. So we get to where we're going. Oh, no, excuse me. We get the briefing where we're going. I remember we're leaving on a C-130 at midnight. Some crazy. It's dark, really dark. So I got on the C-130, and when I got on there, there's not very many seats on the side of these planes, and they were all filled up for some reason I don't really recall. Maybe it was just nothing but transporting supplies. I don't remember, but I was forced to sit on my bag. I remember I sat on my bag, and when you're in Afghanistan, before you leave, you load your laptop full of movies, and that thing was full of movies, and I think I'd started Game of Thrones season 1, and I sat on that son of a bitch, and my screen completely cracked and shattered, and now I didn't have a computer for the rest of the 5 months, so that kind of sucked. But we get to where we're going, and we're linking up with the team we're going to work with. We're only linked up with their intel guys and maybe a couple officers, and I think we got into a debriefing room. This was the following morning after we landed off the C-130, and we slept in some shanty thing. It was basically just NCOs and a couple officers. We were talking about where we're going to go, what we're going to do, what our job is. When they started it off with, there hadn't been any U.S. force down there in 2.5 years. I was like, okay, this could be pretty fun. Then they went on to tell us that rock clearance has been clearing the road, and you guys know what rock clearance is. It's basically a convoy of trucks that drives with a mine roller to blow stuff up. That's pretty much it. And their job was basically to clear the road for us. And they went down there for the 2 weeks prior to us trying to infill and set up shop. They lost 2 trucks, so I guess they kind of deemed it too unsafe to be doing it, I guess. I don't know, but they stopped. And then also a U.S. base, a small camp, was overran a while back down there. And I was just thinking to myself, holy shit, what? I got 5 months left. I'm going to spend the rest of this shit in hell. completely. I mean, it was just fine because I mean that's what we're supposed to do. It was just awesome. When you go back and you tell your guys and they're so excited, they're like, oh yeah, we get to go do shit, and then lo and behold, you don't shower for the next 4 months. So basically, our job when we go down there to this new area is disrupt the gun and drug routes that the Taliban have coming in from Pakistan, which that's no more than me just walking up to a hornet's nest and smashing it with a bat. That's pretty much all we were doing, which we were all fine with. That was our job, and we were way fine with that. Now we take a bird down to this transitional camp. So we get off from there, and we have some up armored Humvees. We have some MATVs, like big trucks, like huge trucks. Like if you can think of a semi with giant wheels on it, and it's just huge, giant trucks, and they have some balls. They go really fast, and they really are really badass trucks. So we get down there, and we meet up with the team, the SF guys. They're always cool. Everybody's always cool, because everybody knows we're about to just go get into shit. There's no need to be dicks to each other. It's in the Army, everybody's dicks to everybody. And it's just, when you're deployed, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, who cares? So we get down there, and we meet them, like I said, and I got off sidetracked again. And we're going to go prep these trucks to get ready to go. We have our guys with us, and they would like to have like random shit. I don't know. They, people carry really random stuff like books and magazines, and me and the guy that I'm about to show you, this guy right here. But that guy right there, that was actually the night before we left, and we were all sleeping on that wooden floor. And I remember we had to tell all of our guys that the only thing you can bring down here to where we're going is water, food, and ammo. And I think like 5 pairs of socks, 5 shirts, and like 3 to 4 uniforms, and that's all you can bring. Now, when you're told that, like your truck is only loaded with water, food, and ammo, like you should know you are embedding in some really shithole place. And that was our entire thought process when we were sitting there loading, and it's just stacks and stacks and stacks of ammo and grenades and ammo and ammo. That's all it was endless ammo. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of interesting. I was about to go the next 4 to 5 months with just socks, 5 pairs of socks and 5 shirts, and half of my pants ended up being shorts because we just cut them off. So as we're driving down to this new base, I'm in truck number 1 or truck number 2. I was up at the very front. I was truck 1. I was 110% truck 1. Yes, I remember that because the guy I was with was one of the other snipers in the SF team, and I remember. Yes, we were very vividly. I was truck 1 after I think about that. So I remember on the way up there, he had been down here and kind of scouted the area out somewhat, but they haven't gone directly to the place we're going to. There was this huge area that just looked like a giant bonfire went off. And as you're driving down in Afghanistan, you're going to go through these things called like wadis. The wadi is basically like a creek runoff from the hill, and it just created like this really deep V, like really deep. And we're having to go up and down through all these things. So the driving is just shitty and slow. And every single culvert we come to, we got to go around. We got to check because they were blowing up. The Taliban, in a sense, they're very lazy because they'll shove any type of holders in the ground. They'll just shove an IED in there. They don't like digging, and everybody knew that. So every culvert we went to had to be checked because it most likely was filled with bombs. Now I went up to this one culvert as we were driving by, and it, like I said, it had this huge black, just looked like a giant bonfire. And he was telling me that was one of the trucks. That's where it got blown up a couple weeks before we got there. For the fire to be that big, I've seen quite a few explosions and quite a few trucks be blown up, but for the fire to be that big, or that hot, excuse me, to melt these tires are like as big as this wall. To melt those tires, that had to be one hell of an explosion and a really hot fire. So that kind of got me thinking on the way down there that these guys really don't want us down here. We travel a little bit longer, and then we get to that area where I told you guys that camp was overran, and dude, this thing was tore up. I remember it was HESCO lined, and HESCOs are nothing more than a fence with this cloth stuff on it you fill with dirt. And it was a bunch of HESCOs, and I think it was like 2 or 3 high. And this thing was destroyed with bullet holes. I mean, just the front of it looked like it was messed up. And there's a bunch of RPG holes, or not exact holes, but divots from it hitting. And I was just thinking, yeah, that must have been a real shitty day. So we get down to where we're going now. Where we're staying is a kalat. Now a kalat is nothing more than giant mud walls, probably 15 foot high or so. They're really tall walls, like insanely tall, and they can withstand a lot. We bought it from a local, or I didn't buy it. The government bought it from the local, and that local must have told. This is how trustworthy the people are over there. He must have told one of the Taliban guys that we were coming because the inside of this thing Of course, we send the bomb dog and everybody in there, the little mine detectors, trying to see if there's anything that was planted in there before we got there. And of course, we found 4 to 5 mines that were those actual mines you have to step on and they shoot up and they explode. Found those, ridiculous. And they blew those in place. We all make our way in there. Now, granted, a couple weeks later, like a couple weeks, not days, a couple weeks later, while we're in there trying to fortify this thing and scoop up dirt, the bobcat we had scooped up and scooped up a mine. So there were still mines in there, which blows my mind that that was missed. But it didn't go off. We basically just we took the mine outside and they detonated it outside. That's crazy to me. So we get in this thing. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to set up security. Security is so important. Before food, shitting, anything, security is number one. So we set up a HESCO in the corner. Just think of a big square. There's 4 corners in this thing. In the corner where they're most likely to come from, over the mountains and the woodline. It's easy. They're not going to shoot at us from the village. And for most likely, they're going to shoot at us from over here. I just remember thinking to myself, like, God, this is going to suck. I get in here, and it's just a flat area with moon dust like this. Moon dust is basically just sand that it's literally like moon dust. You step in it, and it just goes, just shoots up and gets you dirty as hell. But anyway, we set up the thing in the corner, and they probably could fit maybe 5 to 10 guys on it. If they were standing nut to butt, like just all touching with their guns up on top of them. The main thing was to get that quarter fortified so we can send rounds back at them safely. Now at the same time, the Afghan guys we were working with, they set out like a really deep like outer cordon. I'm talking like, I didn't even know where they were. Like their trucks were somewhere like in the bush, like just doing Afghan things. They knew what they were doing. They knew this area very well, and they knew where we were going to get attacked from. So later on that day, this is the very first day, I had my M110. I had this sniper rifle, which I'm going to show you a picture of later on in this entire deal. That's me. That's the gun I carried most of the time because it was semi-automatic. It was quick. It was a good gun. I remember I had that, but we received contact. And right when we received contact, I mean, everybody scattered straight to that little corner. And so we have like 10. These are probably actually more than 10 guys up there. Everybody was online, basically. And they were shooting at us from the wood line, just like we thought they were. And basically we did like a show of force. There was no tree, house, anything in that entire area that didn't get shot up. It was basically they were there trying to pick a fight and see what we would do, and we retaliated pretty well. And the guys we're with, those Afghan guys, they actually were able to kill 2 of the guys, which is great, because that basically that's one way to say don't mess with us. We're like, here, we will kill you, and they did a really good job. I'm glad the Americans, we didn't kill anybody. The two Afghan guys did, which is great. I'm glad they did. Now, after all that, it was not that big of a tick. It was probably like 10 to 15 minutes. It wasn't even that big of a deal for them to call birds, like air, and then it's whatever. Now, later on in this little sequence of me being in here, this is when it starts getting like shitty. Like August was a bad month, and I think right now it's like maybe July or June. June probably. Now, for the sleep conditions for the first night, was pretty rough. We laid cots on top of the moon dust. So the bottom of the cot was basically almost touch. This is how thick the moon dust was, almost touching the moon dust. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, I'm not gonna sleep at all tonight, because I scanned my little light on the ground like real quick, and all I saw was like 1,000 eyes, and it was nothing but just camel spiders. Camel spiders, they bite you and then they like eat away at your flesh. They're gross. They're big spiders, huge spiders. Yeah, and that started. Let's just say we were so thin on people in this camp that officers, first sergeant, or no, officers, the master sergeant, everybody, when I mean everybody, pulled guard at night. There was, like, that's how thin we were on this sucker. So, and that's where we're gonna leave it off, is with that right there. The next week is gonna get kind of interesting. It's for next Monday, and then Monday after that, and Monday after. It's gonna get interesting as we go along in this series, because you just don't walk up to a hornet's nest and beat the crap out of it and not expect to get stung. So with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Also, I will see you next Monday with another Military Monday.